So I'm gonna be really honest with you guys in this video, right? I don't know where my life is heading. I don't know if I'm on the right path. I don't know if things are going to work out how I want them to. And sometimes I find myself in a place in which I'm just confused about life, right? Sometimes I find myself in a place in which, I begin to doubt life. I begin to doubt myself. I begin to doubt my worth. I begin to doubt my capacity and my ability. And I have these moments in which I fall deep into this pit of self-doubt, right? And a few days ago, I hit one of those low moments again. A few days ago, I hit one of those moments in which I was at a very, very, very dark place, right? Now, I woke up in the middle of the night and I woke up with this great sadness. I woke up with this emptiness and this feeling of confusion, right? And I laid there in my bed and I began to sort of just think about my life. Think about where I am. Think about the future. And I was overtaken by this great feeling of sadness, right? And I realized that not only am I not where I want to be, but I really don't know where this path that I'm on is even taking me, right? If you were to ask me 5 or even 10 years ago what my life would be like at 25, right? And obviously, a lot of you guys watching this, is probably saying 25 is pretty young, which it is. But when you have high hopes for yourself, when you're a type of person who's always trying to grow and you have high hopes and expectations for yourself, when those expectations aren't met with reality, sometimes it's very hard to accept, right? And so if you were to ask me 5 or even 10 years ago what my life would be like at 25, then I would tell you that I would be in a successful business or career that I really want to be in. I would tell you that I would have already met the woman of my dreams and probably be on the verge of getting married or having a family. And overall, I would be already living the life that I want to live. And obviously that's not the case. Obviously that hasn't been met by life. And as I laid there in my bed, contemplating life, tears began to roll down or fall from my face, right? And I fell asleep with those tears just flowing. And with that feeling of sadness, that's how I literally fell asleep that night. And I woke up the next morning and the sadness was still there. The feeling of emptiness and confusion and self-doubt, it was very much still there, right? And even as I was going through my day, the feeling was still present. But then it got to a point in which this question popped up into my head, right? And I really had to pause for a minute and really ask myself that question several times. And the question that popped up was, who says that I'm supposed to be at a certain place in my life? Who says that I'm supposed to know where the path is taking me? Who says I'm supposed to have it all figured out? Who says that I should be 100% certain of my path in this thing that I call life, right? Who said all that? That was a question that literally popped up into my head, right? And I really had to pause for a moment and really ask myself that question. Ask myself, why do I feel the need to beat myself up? Why do I feel the need to feel like I'm failing or I'm behind in life? Why do I feel the need to constantly compare myself based on the expectations that I've created in my mind, right? Why? And I think quite often the very thing that takes away from our happiness, the very thing that consistently takes away from our joy, takes away from our peace, takes away from us actually feeling good about ourselves, is our expectations of where we think we're supposed to be. Because when that expectation isn't met by reality, which it rarely is met by reality, we begin to feel horrible about ourselves. It eats away at a piece of our happiness. It eats away at a piece of our joy. It eats away the peace that we're supposed to have within ourselves. It takes away from us, right? And quite often, even the expectations that we have of ourselves aren't even our own expectations, right? They're from society. Society, or our parents, our family, our friends, they have all these expectations of us. And when we don't meet those expectations, we begin to question ourselves. We begin to feel like we're failures. We begin to feel like we're not enough when we're not able to meet their expectations, right? If you look at society right now, Society wants us to believe that we need to have life figured out at like 25, 30. We need to be making a certain amount of money or be in a certain career or be in a successful business at 25, 30 years old, right? We need to meet the love of our life at 25 or 30 and get married and have kids and ride off into the sunset, right? Or we need to own certain things in our life are supposed to look a certain way by a certain age. And we constantly carry that expectation with us. We constantly carry that burden. We constantly beat ourselves up. We constantly believe that we need to have it all figured out. And if we don't have it all figured out, then we are failures. Then we're not doing enough. Then there's something wrong with us. Just because our lives doesn't look how society expects it to look, right? But if you're like me and you've been doing your best, if you are like me and you've been showing up for yourself consistently, you've been putting in the hours, you've been working to get better, you've been showing up for yourself, then you are not a failure and you are not behind. You are simply doing the best you can with the best that you have presently. And because you've been doing the best you can, then your best is enough. You don't have to compare where you are right now to other people. You don't have to judge yourself constantly based on the expectations of society. You don't need to feel bad about yourself and about your life just because it doesn't look a certain way. You are doing your best. And if you've really been doing your best, and only you know if you've been doing your best, then that is enough. That is enough. See, we are never in control of the when it comes on to life, right? You can be the type of person who's been grinding for 20 years. And in those 20 years, you haven't gotten the breakthrough that you wanted. The outcome, the fruit is never in our control. All we can really do is plant seeds and consistently water them, right? But the fruit is never truly in our control. And once you recognize that, there is sort of a feeling of sadness or a feeling of, powerlessness that you might experience temporarily. But when you really recognize that all we're expected to do in this thing that we call life is to give our best, then that sadness, that feeling of powerless, it turns into relief. And in that feeling of relief, you now feel empowered, but in a different way. And what I mean by that is, once you recognize that all you can do is do your best, and you have to let go of the rest, meaning you have to let go of of trying to force an outcome, then you find peace within yourself. You don't constantly beat yourself up because, you're not making things happen, because you can't make anything happen. Right? That's the part that we find it hard to admit. We can't make anything happen. None of us can. All we can do is give our best. We make absolutely nothing happen. None of us. That's the part we don't like to admit. You don't make that girl fall in love with you. You don't make that guy fall in love with you and want to marry you and be with you. No. You put yourself out there consistently. You show up as your best and your most authentic self. And then if life decides to bring you that person, then life brings you that person. And if life doesn't decide to bring you that person who's for you, then life doesn't bring you that person. But all you can do is really put yourself out there, be your best self, but the outcome is never up to you. The same thing with a business. The same thing with a career or what we want. All we can do is constantly show up for ourselves, constantly do our best, constantly be our best self. But we never make anything happen. The outcome is never in our control. Right? And that's something that a lot of us find it hard to accept. That's something that I found very hard to accept. But once I accepted that, right, in the moments in which I accept that, right, obviously I have the moments in which I fall into that deep feeling of self-doubt and powerlessness, right? But the moments in which I do accept it and I do remember that I can't make anything happen, then I feel empowered. I feel free. I feel proud of myself for doing my best and showing up as my best consistently. Because that's all I can do. Right? That is all I can do. Is to be my best. Is to continuously show up for myself. But the outcome, the fruit, is never in my control. The when is never in my control. Right? It never truly is. The greatest thing that you can do for your life, the greatest thing that you can do for your peace of mind, the greatest thing that you can do for your joy and your happiness is to surrender. And when I say surrender, I don't mean you don't wake up every day and give your best. I don't mean you don't put in the work and put in the hours, right? Obviously, you still do. When I say surrender, what I mean is that you let go of your need to control the outcome. You let go of your need to make something happen, because you can't make anything happen. All we can ever do in life is to give our best. And if you're giving your best consistently, if you're showing up consistently, right? If you're putting in the work consistently, then you should be proud of yourself. You should be happy with yourself. You should have a sense of peace within yourself. Right? The mere fact that you're showing up every day, the mere fact that you're doing your best, you need to let that be your reward, right? You need to let that be the thing in which you sort of use to, I don't even want to use this word, but use to sort of judge yourself, right? That's what you have to use. But if you allow the results, if you allow the fruit to define you, and with the knowing that you can't make anything happen, then you're always going to feel that emptiness. You're always going to feel that lack. You're always going to feel like you're a failure just because the outcome either didn't happen the way you wanted it to happen, or it didn't happen when you wanted it to happen. You're always going to feel that emptiness. Right? So if you've made it this far, keep doing your best. Keep showing up for yourself. If you are uncertain about the future, if you're uncertain about if you're on the correct path, simply bring yourself back to the present moment and do your best with the best that you have. Place one foot in front of the other and keep walking. Keep walking with the faith, with the conviction that the path will open up. And even if you don't know where the path is taking you, then have faith that there is a higher force, whatever it is that you believe in. Have faith that there is a higher force, a greater intelligence that is guiding us where we need to be. And all we can truly do is to give our best and consistently show up for ourselves. And let go of our need for control. Let go of our need for the when. And find peace, find joy, find fulfillment, find happiness by simply being and giving our best every day. And being happy with where we are and who we are. Because if you can't be happy with where you are and who you are, then who says you're going to be happy in the future when you get to that place in which you think you need to be? Who said you're going to be happy then? You know, our expectations and our imagination, I should say, is so limitless to the point in which even when we are at a place in which we once imagined to be, our imagination is already somewhere else, right? And I don't want that to go over you guys' heads, right? Even if you find yourself in a place in which you once imagined yourself to be, then your imagination is going to be somewhere else, is going to be ahead. Our imagination is constantly ahead of us, right? And so if we constantly judge ourselves by the standards of our imagination, the standards of where we expect to be or where we would like to be, then we're never truly going to be happy with ourselves. Because there is no confines to our imagination. There is no limitations to our imagination. But there is always a present moment for us to return to and to find peace in. Right? So yeah. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for being here with me. That was a bit of a rant, but I had to get that off my chest. At least for my sake, I had to get that off my chest. Thank you guys for watching once again. Give yourselves a bit of love every day. Give yourself patience, kindness, compassion, appreciation. Give yourselves all of that. Because if you are a person who's been doing your best, then you are deserving of all of that. Peace and blessings.